Now, another thing, I'd like us to go ahead and turn to Luke 11:5-10. And in that, this is actually a parable Jesus gives right after he gives this prayer that I read in Luke. And when he gives it in Luke, then after it, he adds a parable, a Luke 11:5-10. And I tell you, I love parables. That's another thing you'll find out. I love Jesus' parables. There's so much in them. And in Luke 11:5-10, he says, And he said unto them, Which of you shall have a friend, and shall go unto him at midnight, and say unto him, Friend, lend me 3 loaves, for a friend of mine in his journey is come to me, and I have nothing to set before him. And he from within shall answer and say, Trouble me not, the door is now shut, and my children are with me in bed. I cannot rise and give thee. I say unto you, though he will not rise and give him because he is his friend, yet because of his importunity, I'm probably not pronouncing that right, but importunity, and he will rise and give him as many as he needeth. And I say unto you, Ask, and it shall be given you. Seek, and ye shall find. Knock, and it shall be opened unto you. For every one that asketh receiveth, and he that seeketh findeth, and to him that knocketh it shall be opened. Now, with this, I see another aspect of a conversation with a person. Like, I can think of another illustration. When a few months ago, I went and I took a vacation. I was lucky enough. My sister asked me, and I went on a vacation to Tennessee. I had a great time. And in that time, my sister took some vacation photos of me. And I don't take photos of myself much. And so I just thought Tennessee was a beautiful place. And those photos were a little important for me to get. And now my sister, I love my sister. She's slow with doing things. So I tell you, that was in June. We had the vacation. I got the photos about last week. And you know how I got them? Every time I would see her, I would ask her about the photos. Every time I wouldn't be rude about it, but every time we would talk, I would earnestly tell her about the photos. And I think after a while, she realized I was serious about the photos. Because when someone comes to you and they ask once, and then you say no, and they just kind of walk away, you think, okay, it's not that important, and then you can forget about it. But when a person comes to you and they ask, and they keep asking, and they don't just knock once, they pound on the door, you know they mean business. And that is serious, and that's what God says our prayer should be. Now, you don't need to be, aggressive with it, knocking on the door, but you come to God, and you're serious. If you ask once, and you don't see it, you ask again. And if you don't see it, you ask a third time. You ask a fourth time, you ask a fifth time, and you ask until you hear an answer, until you hear a response. You keep asking. And then another verse that I see is in Romans 12:12. And this verse, I think, really goes along with that. And it says, Rejoicing in hope, persevering in tribulation, devoted to prayer. Now, some versions say steadfast, and they use other words that I love this translation. Devoted to prayer. When I think of devoted, I think of like a fan. I think of someone who is devoted to something. It is their thing. They love it. They're really taking it serious. And that's how prayer should be. Like again, you think of an aspect of talking to a person. We all have friends, and we have some friends who we hardly talk to. Like we talk to maybe once a year, few times a year. And I tell you, those relationships are a lot different than the people we talk to every single day. So the people that we take the time and talk to. It's just not the same when you don't have a devoted conversation. It's like a marriage. I don't see how a marriage could last if some people stay married and they don't talk to each other for a year. I say if they don't talk to each other, don't take at least once a day to say, hey, I love you, or say something, then I don't see how that relationship can last. And I think it's the same with God. We are to be devoted in prayer. We are to take every prayer serious, and not just to come to Him when we have a question. Again, like if we have a friend, we all have friends, I think, who we know they'll come to us only when they need help, when they need something, and that's just not a fulfilling relationship. It doesn't mean as much as. So not only are we to take our prayers seriously, but we are to be devoted in our prayers. We're to have a good prayer relationship, a good conversation with God. If you get tired at the end of the day and you can only maybe have a few minutes before you just collapse on your bed I say take those minutes right as you're about to fall on your bed before you lose consciousness. Go to God and just say, I love you. It can be as simple as that, praying to God, saying, I love you. You are excellent. Just saying something to praise God and let Him know you love Him. Even if you can do a minute, a second, whatever you can do. I've even done it in the car when I'm driving. I'll turn the music down and I'll just humble myself in the car. I won't completely take everything out of my mind or I'd crash it into other people, but I humble myself and let go the best I can, and I just praise God for like the 5-6 minutes that it takes me to get work. And I tell you, and that is so much fulfilling for you too, just to be able to, like, giving God a kiss on the cheek every morning, just talking to Him, showing your affection. And that is so important to do that. And then with that, we come to the second question you can ask yourself when you are faced with an unmovable mountain. And that is, am I asking God to do it? And again, you can add truly. Am I truly asking God? Because that means really taking the time, not just kind of saying, hey, see the trash, really taking the time, truly coming in prayer. Am I truly asking God to do it? That's the second thing you can ask yourself.